welcome to Conversation with Zaki Baruti, with your host Zaki Baruti. And like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family, what's happening, to the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's going on, and to New Life Evangelistic Center family headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to our amazing cameraman. On that note, we'll have a great show because we'll be delving into international politics and this government actions toward a small little island in the Caribbean that has been ongoing since the 60s, the early 60s. And I'm speaking of Cuba because in the past we have also had past show a representative from the Cuban embassy here in who visited us a couple weeks ago. And to that end, there's a young lady that has been having an ongoing relationship with trying to help the people of Cuba. And she represents an organization, which I'm gonna let her pronounce that organization. And I'm speaking none other than Jada.
Hi.
Peten?
Peten,
okay. Well, welcome to Conversation with Zaki Baruti.
Thank you. I'm with the Venceremos Brigade.
Venceremos.
Mm-hmm,
okay,
Venceremos Brigade.
All right.
I'm with the Venceremos Brigade. We are the longest standing U.S.-Cuba Solidarity delegation. We've been going to Cuba since 1969, and this year we are actually on our 53rd Brigade. One thing that's been really exciting about this year is that we've had the opportunity to do 3 different mini brigades to Cuba. So we had a contingent go on the May Day Brigade with the National Network on Cuba, which is a coalition of different Cuba Solidarity organizations and anti-imperialist organizations across the US and Canada who have come together with the aim of ending the US blockade on Cuba. So we had a brigade representatives there. In July, we went to Cuba to help celebrate the Julio 26, also known as the July 26 movement, which is known as the start of Cuba's revolution. And we were able to bring in an entirely all queer delegation to Cuba to connect with queer and trans Cubans who are doing community organizing, figuring out what do things look on the ground like for queer and trans folks in Cuba, and how the US blockade specifically impacts queer and trans Cubans due to them not being able to access gender affirming supplies such as binders or hormonal replacement therapy. And then we are doing another brigade.
Wait a minute, but let me stop you. Mm-hmm. You don't dropped a lot on our audience, but before we do, let me digress. When I began my shows, I always like my audience to know a little bit about the person I'm interviewing. So if you would share a little bit about yourself, your background, and what have you.
So I am a community organizer based here in St. Louis. I've been living here in St. Louis since 2016.
Where are you from?
Am originally from Arkansas, from rural Arkansas, but through that, I found my way to community organizing. And so I've been in a lot of different spheres, worked for a lot of different organizations, labor, abolitionist organizations. I also run a queer exchange group here in St. Louis for queer folks to be able to barter and exchange with other queer folks. I also work with the St. Louis Palestinian Solidarity Collective. And then 2 years ago, me and a couple of comrades founded the St. Louis Anti-Imperialist Collective. So we're a group of folks who are dedicated to doing political education on anti-imperialism across the St. Louis movement landscape, because we saw that internationalism and connecting our struggles to the global South was something that was missing.
Okay, so 2 questions from what you just said. Number one is, what motivated you to get involved as you're a young person?
Yeah.
So a lot of young people are not involved in community activities, especially on a high level international. So what motivated you to get involved?
Yeah, I was brought into movement work when my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was in high school. And at that time in 2015, we know that Bernie Sanders was running. And so I was like, oh, I really like this idea of free healthcare. what would that look like if my mom would have access to free healthcare. And so through that, I ended up getting involved.
So your mother did not have access to free healthcare, obviously. Then,
no,
right?
my mom's healthcare was directly connected to her insurance. And she was just a pharmacy tech at Walgreens. Okay. So like not high-end insurance at all. Yeah, and through that, I got involved with his campaign, doing a lot of different stuff in Arkansas, mobilizing youth for Bernie Sanders. I ended up being a delegate to the DNC, a part of like some of the youngest delegates that had ever been to the Democratic National Convention. And through that, I met up with a whole bunch of other Black Marxists who were like, this is not a place for you. And from there, I just kind of kept organizing and kept developing my own politics on the world. And then I moved to St. Louis. And as you know, St. Louis is rich with so many different organizations to get involved in. So I was really lucky to come in at a prime time in St. Louis.
Then, now, two things. You made mention of Marxism. We got to understand our audience, this is an education. We're sitting in the classroom now. What is Marxism?
Yeah, so Marxism is really at its basis, it's an economic theory that believes that everyone should have access to things such as housing, healthcare, things of that nature, and that the government should be required to provide those things for their people, as opposed to capitalism, where you have to work to be able to live, and the money that you're getting to work goes back into the hands of capitalists that work with the government in order to be able to control the pricing of different resources. In Marxism or socialism or communism, as people think about it as well, we do really believe in the equal distribution of these resources and the nationalization of resources in order to control pricing and that people have their necessities met.
Okay, then, now on the other side of the break, I'll also be asking you about, you used the word imperialism, as well as what got you motivated to get into Cuba. All right.
All of us as people of faith are going to have to rise up and help so many that are hurting and in need. Right now at the New Life Evangelistic Center, not only do we have to feed hundreds of people every day that are sleeping outside, but many that are coming to our facilities, for example in Springfield, Missouri, and those that are getting help through our safe houses and outreach centers at the New Life Evangelistic Center throughout the greater St. Louis area. They all have to be fed. And they don't get their food stamps, they don't get direct assistance. We have to just continue to reach deeper and cry out further unto the Almighty God to work through caring people like you. So I'm asking you to please let God's light and love flow through you at this time. Bring your food to 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri, 806 North Jefferson and Springfield. Please send your tax-deductible gifts now to New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, that's 63166. And when you send your gift in, ask for a free copy of the new Zoa free paper, Celebration of Hope. All kinds of testimonials are in here, all kinds of inspirational articles for you during this holiday season. Again, please pray for New Life Evangelistic Center. Please send your much-needed tax-deductible gifts so we can feed the hungry and help the homeless. To New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, that's 63166. And when you do, ask for a copy of the New Life Zoa free paper, Celebration of Hope edition. Your faith will be stirred, and you will have an opportunity to help so many right now that don't know what to do or where to go. We're encouraging them to trust in the Lord with all their heart. He'll never leave nor forsake them. And we're also directly trying to help them in their time of need. Please continue to pray for New Life Evangelistic Center. Please continue to share at this time and know that your gift goes a long way as you pray, care, and share with the center that's on the front lines.
When times are tough, we need to turn to God and trust Him. Right now, across the country, many are experiencing economic hardship. Maybe for the first time, people are having to strain in their budgets with their finances. There are so many people who are experiencing homelessness, and that number is going to continue to rise. You are needed right now to partner alongside New Life Evangelistic Center. You can make real change in the lives of men and women who are experiencing homelessness. By offering gospel-like love in word and deed, you can help holistically support men and women who are suffering in so many different ways. We need you now. Please call our center at 314-421-3020, 314-421-3020, and get involved today. You are needed. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Jada
Peten.
And she's with the
Movement-Venceremos Brigade.
Okay, on the other side of the break, I was going to be asking you in terms of, you used the word in part of your conversation of imperialism. And also I wanted to ask you, how did you get involved in the movement going back and forth to Cuba? All right, the first question, imperialism.
Yeah, so imperialism is a part of how capitalism extracts resources from the global south.
And what is the global south?
So the global south, or as commonly known, folks call them the third world. I don't really like to use that phrase, but yeah, the global south, referring to places like Africa, Asia, Latin America, so places where it is not known as the West. And so imperialism is how capitalism really is able to base the pricing of items by being able to extract raw resources and labor from the global south, where they are able to
from the poor countries.
Yes, from the poorer portions.
Right.
Where they are able to basically go into these countries, take resources, take cheap labor, and export all of that to the West. So like the U.S., like Europe, develop those resources for folks who are living in the West, who are also selling their labor, but being able to do so at higher prices, so that capitalists are able to make a profit.
Okay then, now in terms of you being involved, first of all, how long you've been involved in quote unquote the movement for a number of years, right? Mm-hmm. And to that end, how old are you, if I may ask?
I am 27, so I got involved with things when I was around 16, 17.
All right then, that's great. I started around 17, 18 myself. And I'm 78 now, I'm still trying to,
We need our elders.
But we need young people also involved at a lot of different levels. So with that said, now, and I don't want to mess up the brigade name.
Venceremos Brigade.
Yes, mm-hmm. Okay then. How long have you been with them, and what is the objective of that brigade?
Yeah, so I have been organizing with the Venceremos Brigade for about 3 years. We have 5 main objectives. Our main objective is obviously ending the U.S. blockade on Cuba. Under that, we have...
Wait a minute, let me stop you there so there's clarity for the audience. Mm-hmm. What is the blockade? What is the economic blockade of Cuba? How long has it been in existence, and what is the purpose?
Yeah, so the U.S. blockade on Cuba has existed since 1961. So shortly after the Cuban Revolution had won and pushed U.S. capitalists and Batista out of power. And so through this, the U.S. created this memorandum that said that they want to bring about the economic devastation of Cuba to force Cuban people to turn on their own revolution. And so the U.S. blockade is a series of laws and restrictions by various different governmental entities, Democrat or Republican, that have been held up over this long period of time, that restricts, Cubans being able to buy resources from other countries, being able to import and export, and to continue to build on their infrastructure, as well as importing things like medicine, clothing, and food.
So that and the impact has had a really negative impact, and there's a large percentage of people of color that's on that island also,
yes.
Right? Okay then, you were sharing one objective, that was to end the embargo, right?
Yes, in the blockade on Cuba, in the U.S. blockade on Cuba. Our second objective is getting Cuba off the state sponsors of terrorism list. So if you're not familiar with the state sponsors of terrorism list, it's a list of different governments from across the U.S. who list of different governments that are categorized as supporting state terrorism. So like Cuba, Iran, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, aka North Korea, are on this list. They are restricted. Syria was on that list as well. So they are seen as supporting terrorism across the world. And so that creates restrictions for countries who trade with the U.S., who also trade with those nations on the list.
So just trying to penalize folks
Yes.
economically, bottom line. Okay, next objective.
Our next objective is that ending U.S. imposed travel restrictions. So as a result of this blockade, as a result of the state sponsors of terrorism list, we as U.S. citizens are restricted in where we can visit. So having to get a visa in order to go to Cuba is relatively new. That came with the normalization efforts in 2008 with Obama. However, prior to that, it was technically illegal for U.S. citizens to be able to go to Cuba. And so in order to go to Cuba, you had to go either to Canada, to Mexico, to other countries and get a flight in order to go to Cuba. Now we know that you can get a direct flight from the U.S. to Cuba, so those restrictions have loosened, but you are still not able to visit places like North Korea without getting permission from the government. And so we don't believe that the government should be able to restrict our freedom of movement as U.S. citizens. So that is our third point
All right.
of
4
unity.
and 5.
And then,
Oh, wait a minute, but hold on. We got to take a quick break. We got 4 and 5 to deal with on the other side of the break.
So many people are hurting and hopeless. They feel despondent and in despair. They are living on the streets in conditions that are horrible and not suitable for any human being. And it takes so many loving people to walk alongside them and give them opportunities to change. Zaki Baruti and his show is exposing the people who are making a real difference in our community. And he's been a faithful partner of New Life Evangelistic Center for many years. And I want to invite you to be like Zaki Baruti and make an impact in someone's life today. You can love others well, and you can do it in a meaningful and powerful way. I am so thankful for people who have partnered like Zaki, and I just want to share some of the impacts that you're really making when you partner with New Life Evangelistic Center. You're offering 365 days of care for a woman in need who's fleeing domestic abuse. You're offering not just care, but discipleship and mentorship and training services for her. Not only are you doing that, you're also getting hygiene kits and survival gears into the hand of people who need them, who are living on the streets of St. Louis. Not only that, but you're caring for orphans and widows in India, and you're preaching the gospel in every single one of these places, India, Ukraine, and all throughout mid-Missouri. You're also helping hundreds of people each day in the day center in Springfield. You're making a real impact on the lives of hundreds every single day. And you do that when you partner alongside New Life Evangelistic Center, along with faithful partners like Zaki Baruti. How I thank God for people like you for change.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In the studio with me is Ms. Jada Peten with the
Venceremos Brigade.
All right. And on the other side of the break, you were laying out the objectives of the brigade. Okay. And what is a brigade? That's interesting.
Yeah, so a brigade is a group of folks who see or really a brigade is just a group of folks that go somewhere at its most basic level. And so for us, the brigade point is to emphasize the unity and us having the same objective, which is ending the U.S. blockade on Cuba and then coming back to the U.S. to educate people on the blockade, on Cuba, to tell people about our experiences in Cuba, and to mobilize people into ending the U.S. blockade on Cuba.
And the name
Venceremos.
What does that stand for? Is that Spanish?
We welcome you, yes.
That's Spanish.
Yes.
Okay, the objectives 4 and 5 real quick.
Yeah, so our fourth objective is we believe in Cuba's right to self-determination and sovereignty. So that's a part of ending the U.S. blockade on Cuba, is believing that Cubans have the right to self-determination, meaning that they get to pick whatever government style, whatever economic style that they would like to believe in. And we don't believe that foreign entities like the U.S. should have any say in how Cuban peoples are governing themselves. So them being a socialist government, they have chosen that form of government. We don't believe that the U.S. should be intervening in that decision.
Number 5.
And then our fifth point is we believe in internationalist struggle. And so what that means is we believe in ending U.S. imperialism by any means necessary. And so really doing the work to uplift how U.S. imperialism is impacting places like Cuba, places like Venezuela, different places in Africa, like Burkina Faso, and bringing that back to how we operate as U.S. citizens and using our ability as U.S. citizens to end U.S. imperialism from the inside out while building connections with people within the global South.
For my audience, why is it important to know about international politics and be involved?
It is important to know about international politics because of how the U.S. moves internationally and how that impacts our lives here. I think that there's a curtain. So it makes it seem that like the ways that we live our lives, the comforts that we are afforded are not based in anything, that they just come from nowhere, but they do come from somewhere. They come from the direct exploitation of people in the global South. That is how we're able to afford cheaper food prices than people within the global South. That is how we are able to, buy raw resources at cheaper prices. And also like thinking about, when we think about war and what different forms of war looks like, we know that the U.S. is directly involved in those things. And so that is directly connected to profit. And so it's really important for us to be aware about international politics because it informs every single thing that impacts our lives, even when you don't think it does.
Okay then. Now, traveling to Cuba, time is running. You've been traveling. You have an upcoming trip to the brigade.
Yes.
If anybody's interested in joining the brigade, but explain what you're doing. When are you going to Cuba?
Yeah.
And the process and what is the cost, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so unfortunately our applications are closed now. One thing that was interesting about this upcoming brigade, which is in December, it is at the end of December, beginning of January, is that this is an all African, Palestinian, and Indigenous brigade. And so we really wanted to focus on bringing folks who have been impacted directly by U.S. imperialism in a variety of manners, especially, knowing about how Palestine has been decimated by Israel, especially after October 7th of 2023, and wanting to really hone in on how folks within the diasporas and how Indigenous people within the Americas are able to connect their struggles back to Cuba. And building out those connections to come back here with a clear strategy on how we end the U.S. blockade on Cuba. So really using that time to connect with each other and connect with the Cuban people on what our strategy is going to be like within our organizations when we come back. So getting very clear on that.
So how many people are going and when are you going?
So we are going, we will be leaving for Cuba right after Christmas.
Okay then. We got to take another break. I'm sorry.
Do you have any idea how many people are having to sleep outside? Yes, viewers of the Zaki Baruti Show, you are being called into action at this time. Your help is urgently needed here at the New Life Evangelistic Center. Our teams are going out every day, and we need your prayers. We need your gifts here because we receive no city, state, or federal dollars. How many times I have to personally run to the store in order to just buy meat and bread? People could be making sandwiches and bringing them to the doors here at 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. They could be buying cases of water and bringing them here so we can get these out to the homeless people. 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. They could write out those checks and send them in because we have to buy this. They're depending upon us. And not only that, they get bus tickets, hundreds and even thousands of bus tickets distributed to so many people who need transportation assistance. We can't do it without each and every one of you. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. You give online at nlecstl.org. Your prayers are urgently needed at this time. Come on, you watch the Zaki Baruti show. You hear about the various issues. Now it's important that we respond to those issues by helping so many people that have fallen through the safety nets in spite of the promises of the politicians. So many people are hurting right now. They're out there. They don't know where to go. What are they doing? I don't see hardly anything in St. Louis County, Jefferson County, St. Francis County. I can mention county after county, Madison County, St. Clair County. They want to ship them to St. Louis. St. Louis can't take care of all the problems. But we got to get all these other counties involved. In the meantime, we got to get your church involved. We need you. But let's get our churches involved. Let's reach out. Let's help those that Jesus referred to. The least of these, after you've done to them, you've done it unto him. Let's help them right now. Please get involved. Call us at 314-421-3020 or share that much-needed gift at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. You can give online at nlecstl.org.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. I only have a couple more minutes with Sister Jada Peten. Peten. I didn't want to mess it up.
With the Venceremos Brigade.
Yes.
And we will be having 50 people come on this brigade.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be a smaller brigade than what we normally do. But we've been really intentional about how we select people to come on this brigade. So super excited for that.
Now, we'll be conducting other visits.
Other brigades, yes.
To Cuba. What is the approximate cost, and how would people get in contact with you if they're interested in going?
Yeah, so we go to Cuba every year. There's also the May Day Brigade that has open applications as well. We're connected to them. They go in May every year to celebrate May Day with the Cubans. I've gone on that brigade. It was an amazing time. But yeah, the cost is usually around $1,900 to $2,800. So crowdfunding is really important. If you're interested in getting more involved, you can look us up online at the Venceremos Brigade, vb4cuba.com, or on any sort of social medias like Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at the Venceremos Brigade or at VB4Cuba.
All right, slow that down one more time and go back through each of the media.
Mm-hmm. So you can join our website at vb4cuba.com. Instagram handle is at VB4Cuba. Facebook is Venceremos Brigade, and Twitter is also at VB4Cuba.
Okay, and by how many times have you been there?
I've gone to Cuba 4 times, so this will be my 5th time.
And then you've been to Havana?
I have. This will be my 2nd time going to Havana.
And how would you, in one word, describe your experiences while visiting?
Life-altering, honestly.
Life-altering. Oh, okay then. And, well, I've been on the island myself, but only for a day. But, yes. And why is it important for folks to experience? Have you been beyond Cuba in terms of travel?
Yes, I've lived in the UK for 3 months. I've gone to Jamaica, Aruba, Grand Caymans. A lot of Caribbean travel. And it's very different. Being in Cuba every time is very different than the rest of the Caribbean because they have fought and won their revolution. They are building a society meant for them, based in centering people, the care of people, the love of people, and the love of folks having their necessities met. And we know how much the rest of the Caribbean also deserves those very same things, and how intervention has impacted the rest of the Caribbean from being able to truly be thrive. And so Cuba is a story of resilience and revolution that other Caribbean nations constantly look up to.
Okay, on that note, we'll have to close out the program. I'm gonna put a challenge to you as an elder. I've been blessed to go to 37 countries. Beat me, okay? Make sure you do that in life. And then last but not least, to the audience, everybody needs to belong to an organization that speaks truth to power and work to uplift humanity. We say join the Universal African Peoples Organization. On that note, may God bless each and every one of you. And again, thank you.
Thank you.